Welcome to Real Talk episode 13. I am Brian Rose and we are here at London Real Studios, but this isn't your usual episode because there's no guest, because I'm here to answer your questions for the next 30 minutes live. Let's get started. You know, today was a crazy fun day because the folks over at Westminster Kingsway College invited me to come in and speak to about 70 of their students. These are teenagers that are trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. They're trying to think if they want to go to university or maybe they want to start a job or start as an apprentice. And it was fascinating for me to look into their faces and try to remember what I was going through when I was 16 years old, 17 years old. And I was trying to give them some advice. And a lot of them were into media, had made movies. And a lot of them were asking me about YouTube and about promotion, about what they should use. And it was a really fantastic moment. So we've got a video coming out soon that Luis and Danny are cooking up for you. So you can see what the experience was like. But it made me really think about it when I was sitting there speaking to them about what we really do at London Real. And it was really, it started because we wanted real conversations. We wanted to have something that wasn't boiled down and chopped up. And that's really why we started doing this. And sometimes I forget why, because it's become so much bigger and we do so many different things now, the academy, the meetups, but it started because we wanted something real, and that's why it still exists today. So I just wanted to thank all of the students that turned out today at Westminster College to help me remind me of that. And it was a great day, and it was just fantastic afterwards. I got swarmed by a bunch of them. I put a picture out today on Twitter. And the kind of questions they were asking me, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I'm a filmmaker. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. They had a lot of questions about the Silicon Roundabout or what technology is. And one of the things I said about tech is, you know, technology is not about the internet. It's not about Google. It's not about Apple. It's not about Amazon. You know, it's really about providing value to other people. And, you know, the technology allows you to get it to everyone in the world, but you still have to create something. You have to create something of value. And that usually comes from your passion. So if you can find something you're passionate about and then get that passion to the right people, then they'll find value in it, and that is a business by definition. And so I was just trying to just to really convey that feeling today. And I said, you know, you can do something better than Google if you have the passion for it. And I actually made a comparison to the BBC, who are our good friends in the media space. And I said, you know, when it comes to interviews and long-form content and real conversations, we're better than the BBC. And I respect them. They've been around for a long time. They make amazing content, but they don't have the passion for what we do right here in this studio every week that we do. And that's why we're better than them at it. And it just goes to show you that you can be better at something that looks like a behemoth if you have the passion, because you can deliver it these days to everyone. And it's just a great thing to keep in mind. And I think a bunch of those students there came away from it. And hopefully, in 5 years from now, they'll put London Real out of business if we're not keeping it fresh and keeping it new. So that was a lot of fun. So thanks so much to those guys. There's an elephant in the room right now, and if you haven't noticed it, then maybe you should, and maybe we'll cut to a close-up here. It's these things on my head, okay? What are these? Brian Rose, you've gone 4 eyes. You look like you're an MIT student finally. You know, these are my glasses, and what can I say? I would love to get your feedback here. Post them in the YouTube comments or on the Academy. What do you think of my glasses? I wore these for our Business Accelerator course on Tuesday, and I got 2 thumbs down from California. I got a thumbs up from Australia, thumbs up from Switzerland. Most people liked them, but some people didn't. That's okay. I'm used to getting criticism here on London Real, but what can I say? I needed glasses. The guy saw my eyes, and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And so now I got them, and now I'm trying to turn them into a fashion accessory, but I'm getting used to them. But I hope you like them. One of our students said I look like Andy Warhol. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Maybe I need a wig. He used to wear a wig. So I hope you like the glasses. Please let me know. I can change the frames. I'm not going to get rid of them, I don't think. I still don't love them, but that's some of the crazy things happening here. I just want to get into some quick things happening here in the studio, then I'm going to jump into your questions. We have a record number of questions from Instagram tonight. Love it. Follow us at London Real TV, getting all sorts of good stuff from them, so thank you so much. Some things happening here at London Real. We have the Summit, which is a gathering of London Realers from around the world, March 12th, right here in London. And here's a bit of a preview, because we've been pretty quiet about what's happening so far, and I like it that way. We want to keep people guessing. But what we're going to do is we are going to be taking over London that Saturday. And we are going to get together as a mass of people, get some ideas exchanged. We might do a little active meditation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get out in the streets and we're going to take over this town. And that's all I'm going to say. But it's going to be highly interactive. It's going to be a way for you to really get in touch with all of those people on the Academy that you've just seen their video logs on the private Facebook group. You never know what they're all about. You're going to find a way to become lifelong friends with them, collaborate with them. Maybe you guys will start a company together. Who knows? But the idea is it's not going to be about me up on a stage trying to give you another TED Talk, because that's not important. And it's not necessarily going to be about a London Real guest getting up, because you've seen all the content. And what you want is to really meet the people that are going to change your lives. And we're going to make that happen on the 12th. So jump in there now. I think there's still a few tickets left, so get them now at our early bird price. That'll be changing, I think, next week. So jump in. There'll be a link below or a link on the Academy. I'm super excited about that. March 12th. More to come there. And what else is going on? I am giving a free course next Wednesday on February 10th. It's a public speaking masterclass. And it's funny, I was actually watching Mr. Dan Panjaa last night, who's up at the castle right now in Scotland, and he's also on my wall here in the studio. And Dan is doing one of his seminars right now, and I like to tune in every now and then, especially when he wears the London Real hoodie for his preview video. And if you haven't caught it, you have to go to Dan Panjaa's YouTube channel, and the trailer video for this week's castle seminar, he's mean mugging the camera, which only Dan knows how to mean mug. He really gives it a mean mug. And he's got the London Real hoodie on, and it's amazing. So what can I say? I love to see Dan branded up like that and giving us all the support and love. But one thing that Dan said, and it hit me really hard, I think he said it at the castle, and we had a whole week talking about your emotional bank account, your financial bank account, about business, about doing deals, about rolling up companies, about finance, da-da-da-da-da. And someone asked him, what's the most important skill that an entrepreneur can have? And he stopped point blank and he said, communication. And I'll never forget that, because he said, if you can't communicate your idea to your investors, to your customers, to your future employees, to your team, then how are you ever going to manifest it? And he's so right. And so that's why I'm going to give this masterclass next Wednesday. There's only 50 spaces limited on this, but I'm going to talk about public speaking. And I'm going to talk about how me getting up on stage for 16 minutes for my TED Talk absolutely changed my life. It changed the course of London Real. It changed everything in retrospect. It changed the caliber of the people that we have on the team here. Just me getting up and communicating to the world what I was all about, what the vision for was London Real. So this is not to be missed, and it's something I really encourage you to work on. I wish I had done this earlier. Unfortunately, at MIT, they didn't have a public speaking course. We had a course on nuclear physics, materials science and engineering, thermodynamics, but there was no public speaking. So it took me 40 years to figure this out. But if you can start early, the better. There's all sorts of great courses. There's Toastmasters. You can get my tips on that course as well. We will be teaching, I think, 10 or 15 people our own course on TED Talks in March called How to Ace Your TED Talk, but it's basically a public speaking accelerator. So I'll be talking more about that as well, but I just want to get you out there and show you the tips. And I'll also be talking about some of the best ways to combat stage fright, because yes, we all have it, including myself. And so tune in for that. There'll be a link below, or it's been on your email. So check that out. That's going to be tons of fun. And yeah, more information on our public speaking accelerator as well as on that email, or you can check it out on the Facebook group. So that's all good. What else? Big love to Dan Panjaa. As you know, I'm having Valentine's Day with Dan Panjaa, so we'll be posting pictures of me and him, maybe dancing. I'm not quite sure, but it'd be great to reconnect with Dan. I haven't seen him for some time, so super excited about that. And finally, our servers crashed on Sunday. And it's not something as a technology company that we like to talk about, but I figured, what the heck? It's London Real. Might as well be honest. Our servers, one Israeli man. And that man is Mr. Ido Portal, the movement expert, who we were honored to have featured in our very first moving conversation. Myself and Ido, with a camera crew, a sound crew, about 6 people, walking around London, illegally filming in the Queen's parks, being almost arrested 3 times by the police. That's in the video. And talking about movement as we moved. We put Olympic rings on a tree in Green Park, which apparently is illegal. We didn't know that. We actually did know that, but We didn't know if it would be enforced. And we talked with Ito about movement, about Conor McGregor, about his philosophies, about Ronda Rousey, about fighting, about dance, about how we move. We even talked about horses because the Queen's Royal Brigade of horses walked past us, and it was a beautiful scripted moment. And I think it's the best, I know it's the best conversation that's anyone's ever recorded with Ito. And I know that because the other two great conversations we recorded here in the studio. And so it's absolutely fabulous. Thank you for everyone for all the support. We got so many great comments and so much love, and I really appreciate it. And the video is still blowing up. The servers are back. We got those back online, but we just weren't ready for that many people coming to watch it. And I just wanted to say a comment by Michael Amos, who left this on the Academy. And it was just, I really appreciate you saying this. He said, quote, "The long format was an absolute relief. Where else can you go for this? To witness the navigation of a full, honest, generous exchange like this reminded me of a former time, only richer, more like a documentary. Two contemporary cats, focused and mutually inspired, and humble enough to give and receive. Killer. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Internet." Cheers, Michael. I really appreciate that. We put a lot of hard work in here, including the entire video department, Luis and Danny as well, and I really hope you enjoyed that. I think this piece of work will stand the test of time. So check that out as well. And of course, on Sunday, we had the astronaut Chris Hadfield dropping. It's also available right now to anyone on the Academy, so you can see the astronaut in by far his greatest interview ever. I'm so proud of this piece of work. And Chris is an amazing guy, and we had just a conversation that's just to die for. He was so present and so amazing. So there you go. I'm going to jump into your questions really quick, but as you know, you can catch us now every single morning at 7 a.m. on London Live television channel, which is on Sky 117. It's on Freeview Channel 8, and you can watch all of our amazing interviews. We're super honored to be working with London Live, and they're showing really our entire catalog of London Reels. So super excited for that. I think my episode is tomorrow with the creator of New York Reel, Miss Olive Hui, and she'll be there, and that's playing over Thursday and Friday. So super excited for that, and that will continue. So do go in there, send them some love on Twitter. That's all good. And we got a focus group right here next Friday. So come in. You can meet the Stick, which will be retiring soon. This Stick, of course, was the star of the Ito Portal moving experience. And you come in, meet me, get some bulletproof coffee, tell us your story, and find out, or you can tell us how we can help on your journey. That's what we do here at the Academy. So super excited. All right. Let's jump in here. We got questions from Instagram, and I love Instagram. What a great platform. Joni Harris says, "Brian, when did you know that it was time for you to leave your job in banking?" Great question. If you're tuning in and you haven't been following London Real for a while, I used to be a banker. I know, with the glasses, you might think it makes sense. I was a banker for 10 years. I was more specifically an interdealer broker for credit derivatives for a company called ICAP PLC in the city. And when did I know it was time for you to leave the job in banking? To be really honest with you, Joni, not soon enough. I dragged my sorry ass to work for at least 4 years and hated the whole process. And in the process of doing that, I made everyone around me miserable. I would still manage to make money and provide a service and do my job, but I didn't like it. And so part of me died every single day. And I actually said that to the students today at the college. And I said, when you do a job you don't want to do, you pay. Because part of you dies every single day. And that you feel in your social relationships, your personal relationships, your family. Everyone feels you're dying. And everyone can feel that you don't want to do it. And so I was slowly killing myself by doing that job. And finally, I think my heart caught up with my brain, my lizard brain caught up with my monkey brain, and it tapped out and said, we got to get out of this place. Even though it makes no sense financially or logically to leave this great situation where we had mastered our job. And that's another problem with mastery, is it creates boredom sometimes. And so I wish I had left earlier, Joni, so much, but I'm so glad I left because I could easily still be there, and I would be smiling and walking around, telling myself I was happy. I would have accoutrements, I would have the this and the that, but I would be actually miserable, and I wouldn't have got to meet all of you people. I couldn't have been lucky enough to give this contribution that is London Real, and so it wasn't early enough. But I think the time that taught me it was the time to leave was I started meditating, funny enough. And I had done martial arts for 10 years, and I just felt like it was time I checked this thing called meditation out. And this is before it got kind of trendy, before the word mindfulness was involved. but I did it for like 4 months straight, and I think just something clicked in my brain that said it's time to get out of here. Kind of like when you know it's time to get out of a bad relationship. Sometimes you just know and you got to make the move. And so it was then that it clicked, but it was way too late. And I wish I had started this sooner. But funny enough, you could argue that YouTube wasn't ready and iTunes wasn't ready to really be there when we were ramping up. So it probably happened at the perfect time, right? So there you go. Moving on, Maxwell, 33, says, Brian, if you could solve one problem in the world, what would it be? And I love these questions because I try not to think about them before I jump in here. You know, it's a great question, and I'm gonna answer this in a different way. If I could do one thing to this world as opposed to solve one problem, it would really be to get everyone a better perspective on what it's all about and how we're all really on this rock flying through space and we're all alone with no one's help. And if we kind of screw this up, then no one's going to help us. And it's a perspective that I got from Chris Hadfield, the astronaut, because once you're up there in space and you look down on this Earth and you see it rotating beneath you 48 times a day or whatever it is, then you get this perspective that, you know what, it's kind of special being here. And maybe it's not all about power and money and oil and who can beat the hell out of who else. Maybe there's something more to why we're here. And if I had to get everyone to have that realization sooner, I would probably get everyone to meditate. But if I had to accelerate the process, I might introduce a psychedelic experience to everyone in the world. And as Graham Hancock once said to me, he thought every politician should have 10 ayahuasca ceremonies before they ever take office. And we concluded that a lot of politicians wouldn't take office after those kind of experiences because they might realize that what they were doing was just an ego-driven experience as opposed to a giving back experience. And when I watch the elections in the US, I always wonder what is actually going on here. And so that's what I'd like to give to the world, or if I could solve the problem in the world, just for everyone to become a little bit more aware, to take a deep breath, and just to be thinking, is it really important that I win this race, that I beat this person, that I crush my competition? I hear that all the time in startups. We're going to world domination. I hear that all the time in startups. And I'm like, you know what? That's not really what we're doing here at London Real. We're not about world domination. We're about world creation. We're about world awareness. We're about world acceptance. We're about world education. That's what I'd like, not the domination aspect. So if I could do one thing, I would say we all go down to Peru for a weekend, drink some brew, and then come back, think about it for 3 months, and then see if we might make some more intelligent decisions. And we might get through there by meditation. And quite honestly, and I'll leave you on this point, we might get there by just sitting down and listening. Just sit down and listen to someone for 5 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, and that's what we're doing here at London Real. We're actually listening. So that's my answer for you, Maxwell. Thank you very much for that question. It was really good. Let's keep it going. Dave Van Lear says, Brian, what was your biggest inspiration when you were young? Excuse me, who was your biggest inspiration when you were young? That's a great question, Dave. Who was my biggest inspiration? You know, it's funny because when I went to the college today and spoke with the students at Westminster, I was trying to think, like, I never needed to be told to go to university. I just knew that all of the winners went there, and I knew that I wanted to be on that course. And so no one ever had to tell me to go. No one ever had to say, Brian, you shouldn't go do whatever you want after high school. I was like, I'm going. And I don't know. I think that's because of the family environment I was in. My dad was, educated at Caltech, was an electrical engineer, and he loved what he did, and he was super passionate. He wore glasses like me, actually, back in the day. And I should pull out some pictures of my glasses because he wore some crazy nerd glasses back in the day. And my dad's a killer nerd, and he's the coolest nerd you ever meet, because the great nerds, they don't care. They just love what they do so much that they're willing to wear the ugliest glasses in the world so they can, do whatever they want. And that's the most beautiful thing. But I think what I'm trying to say is that I was always inspired from an early age by my grandparents and all my family around me, that we all worked hard. We didn't complain. And we tried to be the best, and we didn't make excuses, and that was just the way the family was. And I think it was because both of my grandfathers were farmers and ranchers, and on the ranch and the farm, you get things done. Otherwise, you die, because everything that you own is always on the line. And that's why when you work on a farm, you work hard. You work from dawn until dusk. And you don't whine much, and you don't really blame anyone else because it's all you. And I grew up with this great spirit of these people doing that. So I didn't really have that hero per se. I mean, of course, as a boy, all the movie stars were great. But for me, there was just this core urgency that we would go out there and try to be the best version of ourselves. So thanks, Dad. I'm so lucky my parents are still with me. I still have FaceTime calls with my dad in California. And honestly, I'm just so grateful. I feel like I'm in a time capsule. When I could talk to my dad in real time, he's in his 70s. He's awesome. He gives me great advice without ever giving me advice. My dad leads by example. He's the classic lead by example. And to get a little emotional with you, you know, I've got my son who's arriving on May 30th, and it probably still hasn't hit me yet, to be honest, but I'm trying to think about the father that I'm going to be. And I'm worried I'm going to be the kind of father that tells my son what to do. But my dad's the kind of father that showed his son what to do. And I hope I can be that guy, because that's so much more powerful than someone who just tries to tell you what to do. So that's the plan. That's the plan with the young boy, so we'll see. I've been somewhat successful with that with my daughter, Gabby, but she'll probably tell you differently. I probably do a lot more telling on that sense. But more thoughts on parenting to come up in the next few months. Gabby's 11, so we'll see what she says. All right, rolling on with these questions. Brandon Collinsworth said, Brian, how did you find your purpose? Did you always know it, or did it evolve over time? Again, great question, Brandon. Today, when I'm with these students, they're 16 years old, 17 years old, and you try to tell them, follow your passion. You know, that's a great thing to say when you know your passion or you figured your passion out. And I have right now, temporarily with London Real. I'm sure in a few years from now, my passion will change. I'll channel it in different ways. To know your passion is a beautiful thing. So if you do know what you're passionate about there, consider yourself lucky, because so many people don't. And when I left banking, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was wandering the earth like Kane from the series Kung Fu. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And so sometimes when I tell people go with your passion, they look at me with this blank stare. And so I go back to them and say, that's okay. Go find your passion. And that means expose yourself to all the different ideas. Go do things. Go meet people. Go to places. Go put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Do things that you think you'll hate. And that's the way that sparks ideas and sparks knowledge. Go take a martial arts course. Go take a yoga course. Go take a meditation course. Go take a broadcasting course. Go take a comedy course. Go do something. Put out a podcast. Write a blog. Put a selfie video up of yourself on the academy and see what happens. Guess what? Everything's going to be okay. And so that's what I say to people. You know, you got to go out and do things and find your passion, and you're going to find it for a while, and then you'll lose it, and you'll have to find it again. But it's done by doing. And as Casey Neistat says, who I'll have on the show definitely this year, he's got a tattoo on his arm that says, do more. And I love that about Casey, that he tattoos himself with really bad tattoos, and I like that. But you got to do more, you know, because it doesn't happen in your house, and it doesn't happen when you're surfing online. And London Real is not about sitting at home. That's not the point. It's about coming to one of our focus groups, meeting me. It's about getting in touch with Academy members, about starting companies, about doing things. And that's the way you're going to find your purpose. It's not going to happen, you know, reading a Reddit thread or watching a video or reading a book. You got to get out there and actually do things. So that's my advice to you, and that's how I found it. And like I said, I think I'm going to have a bunch of purposes in my life, and hopefully I'm always out there trying to find them and asking questions. So there you go. Got about 5 minutes left here. We're going to go to Alex Finley. This one's from Facebook. He said, Brian, what's your 3 top guests you've interviewed to date? And he'd be interested to hear that, and he gave me a smile emoticon. I like that. You know, I get asked this question a lot. It's really hard to say. Today, the students, I told them Chris Hadfield was one of mine because he's the astronaut. You know, the people that have really changed my life, quite honestly, are Dan Pena. He has. Dan is a very divisive character. Love him or hate him, he does change people's lives. And I still remember Dan Pena standing outside on the street in Shoreditch, and he stood out in front of me and he said, Brian, I change people's lives. And I thought to myself, the old man has lost his marbles. I thought he was out of his mind. But he did change my life, and I have to give him credit for that. And Dan is polarizing. You love him or hate him, but he does cause a reaction, and I like him that way. And great art does cause a reaction, and hopefully London Real, either you love it or you hate it. I like that. That's what great art is. Ido Portal has changed my life. He's changed the way I move, changed the way I think. Dorian Yates and his thoughts on spirituality have definitely changed my life. All the technology entrepreneurs in Silicon Real that I've interviewed have all changed my life. They're so inspirational. They've changed the way that we've built London Real, the way that we constantly try things, test products, open ideas, just stream knowledge. It's constantly changed that. So those people really have. And Joe Rogan inspired me to do this in the first place because he was out there doing it and I was tuning in, and without him, I don't know if I would have planted that seed. It was like Inception. He planted that idea in my head, and then we executed on it. You know, it's great to have an idea, but if you don't do anything about it, then it's almost like it never existed. And so that's the last thing I told the students today. You know, if a tree falls in the woods and no one was there to hear it, did it fall? And the engineer in me says, of course it fell, but I really know that it didn't fall. And so if you don't execute on your dreams, then they just didn't happen. So go out there and do more and make those decisions and make those changes. But those are the people I think that had the big impact on my life. I mean, things I remember, people on our wall here. If you come to London Real Studios, which you can next Friday, February 12th, we've still got a few spaces open, you'll see Neil deGrasse Tyson, celebrity astrophysicist, was one of our hugest guests at the time. It was a great honor sitting down with him. He's got a great personality. You'll see Mr. Yates. You'll see Wim Hof, the Iceman. Loved Wim. You'll see Eddie Izzard. It was just really important having Eddie here. You'll see Stitch Duran, who's the cut man, who was just featured in the Sylvester Stallone movie Creed. And I kept seeing Stitch show up there, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And funny enough, Ivana Chubik, the acting coach that I interviewed here about a year ago, she sent me a message and said, Sylvester Stallone got nominated for an Oscar for his acting in Creed. And I was watching Creed and I was like, you know what? Sly really stepped his acting game up. It was just so much better than I remember from Rocky II and Rocky III. And Ivana sent me a message. She said, he came to me for private acting instruction for the movie Creed. And I was like, God damn, Ivana, you got crazy skills that pay the bills. And she really does. And I noticed it even before she told me. And props to Sylvester Stallone for going back to acting training and acting school when you're such a big producer, you're such a big director, you're such a big actor. But to go back in and relearn your craft and to become a white belt again, massive respect to you. And all the greats do that. They get feedback and they work on their game constantly. I'm constantly working on my game. After this video is done, I'm going to ask Luis and Danny how I did on the show and if it was any good. So always get feedback, always change your game, always make yourself better. And do it sooner than later. That way you'll have momentum in 3 and 6 months. And lastly but not least, I need a package to be delivered to me right now. Danny, give me that box. Open that box up. Pass me the box. I have a present here that we're delivering on air here to the crack video team here at, say hi, wave in there, Danny, wave to the camera. This is Danny, new member of the video team. He showed up at the focus group 2 weeks ago and he hasn't left since. Literally, he sleeps here in the studio. We can't get rid of him. But this is a present I got for Danny and Luis. And the legality of this is questionable. But you know what? Sometimes you got to break some rules here. Sometimes you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? So here we go. The newest present for the crew here. Yeah, it's the Bebop drone. It's the applause coming from the staff in there. And funny enough, I was looking at drones because Casey Neistat, we love his vlogs in New York City. He's got great drone footage. He had great drone footage on the snowboarding video in New York City. And I was like, we got to get a drone. I've played with drones in the past. They might be illegal, but you know, whatever. So is filming Ido Portal in the Queen's Parks, but we did it anyways. So I figured we got to get one. And funny enough, this is the one that Casey crashed off of his building that actually lost signal. So Parrot, I'm not saying this isn't going to work. I actually have the other Parrot drone that I've been playing with at home for the last couple years. But hopefully this works. It's got a camera. So more footage coming soon. We're up in our video game even further. We got a vlog coming. We got a video about today coming. So it's all kicking off here. So there you go. Super excited. There you go. That's it. Real Talk episode 13. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave me questions on Instagram, on YouTube, on London Real Academy. You can join right now. And it's 1,000 of the hardest core London Reelers around the world. It's a secret society of people that get things done because we hold each other accountable. It's incredible. So join then. Check it out. Come see me right here in the studio next Friday. It's going to be awesome as usual. And that's it. It's about the journey, baby. We will see you next week for Real Talk episode 14.